constantly cheated on me throughout the whole relationship.
It's been 10 years.
I stayed so long because I loved him, and I wanted to do everything that I could to save the marriage.
And now,
I just couldn't stay any longer with all that.
reclaiming your life after an affair.
Why now? What was the thing that caused you to say this is it?
Author Susan Shapiro Barash tells us how to start over.
The power is yours. It really is up to you. Ultimately, it's your destiny.
We're talking infidelity, woman to woman.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. You know, our first inclination as women when we've had cheating partners is to look at the man, what he did wrong. Well, today, it's not about him. It's about us. It's about women. We're going to take a look inside, a soul searching of sorts, to see where we may have gone wrong when he cheats. Now, we're talking infidelity, woman to woman today. We're not saying he had a reason to be unfaithful, nor are we justifying his infidelity. We're just looking at us and what we can do after an affair to reclaim ourselves and begin again. Now, we have someone here with us today. Her name is Charla. She sent us an email, and I'd like for you to come up, Charla, to share that email with us. She sent us an email about infidelity and with her husband.
I've been married for 10 years, and now I'm in the process of getting a divorce. I got married very young, and there were a lot of things that I did not know. I married someone who seemed to have a sexual addiction, and he constantly cheated on me throughout the whole relationship. I stayed so long because I loved him, and I wanted to do everything that I could to save the marriage. But he refused to be true and honest with me. It's like he wanted to keep me and still do his dirty work. I could not take the defilement any longer, so I have no choice but to divorce him. I would love to be on your show and talk about my story.
Well, thank you, thank you. You're here, and that's exactly what we're going to do, talk about your story. We're talking infidelity, woman to woman today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing good.
Thank you for staying with us. We're talking today about infidelity, woman to woman. I have here with me Charla, who sent us an email talking about infidelity in her life, and I'd like to talk about that today. You said you've been married 10 years.
Yes, I've been married 10 years.
And separated now for about 9 months.
Yes.
I guess the question is, how are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better than I was in the very beginning. I am. I'm doing a lot better.
Yes, so the process now, you have decided to divorce.
Yes, I have. I have decided to divorce. We have been married for 10 years and gotten 3 children out of it, and it was just so much that was just going on, you know, and I stayed with them, you know, for the kids and also because I loved them, and just tried to do everything that I could, you know, to keep the marriage together, but I just couldn't stay any longer with all of that going on.
Yeah, I have your letter here, and 10 years, how, you said that he cheated the entire time throughout the relationship, which means before you were married.
Yeah, actually really before we were married also, I believe. I know like I remember right after we had gotten married, I used to catch him all the time. I knew he was talking to other females on the phone, you know, and things like that, and he would try to hide it. And really at that time period in my life, you know, I was very young and very gullible, you know, and just a lot of things that I didn't know about men and about men like that. And so, but as time has went on, you know, of course I've learned a lot more, been through a lot more, you know, but I am doing a lot better than I was before.
So what didn't you know about men? And you say like that, but first, what didn't you know about men before you married?
Well, for one thing, I believe that I believe that your childhood plays a huge part in your adult life. And in my childhood, my father pretty much rejected me. And he didn't want to play any part as far as raising, you know, me and my brothers and everything. And that had built a lot of rejection in me. And as I, you know, got older and, you know, started having an interest in guys and things like that, it just, you know, I just kind of went for whomever was showing me that attention, you know, whomever was showing me that attention, like, hey, I love you, I want to be with you, I want to marry you, you know. And I was looking for love. And I just went, you know, he had his arms open, you know, wide to me, you know, saying that he was going to take care of me. And that's really what a father is supposed to do, take care of you. But I didn't have that. And at that time period in my life, I didn't know that that was what I was doing. You know, that was what I was doing. But I had a lot of rejection and everything in my heart. And so I just kind of went for whomever, you know, would seem like they were showing me some type of love and affection. And even though he really was not a good catch.
Well, I guess you thought so 10 years ago.
Yeah, I thought so
even
10
through
years
that,
ago.
even
Yeah.
through that, and you saw that. You saw that then. And I think we're talking today about where we may have gone wrong, you know. So you didn't know then. What do you know now about marriage?
Well, I know that marriage is honorable, and I know that marriage is a covenant. And I know that a husband and a wife are supposed to love each other, you know, unconditionally. And so there's supposed to be trust, commitment, loyalty, and faithfulness, you know, in a relationship. And I've seen, I have some examples of that in my life. You know, I know some people that are married and they have that faithfulness and that commitment and that loyalty. And I thought that was what I was going to have, but I didn't. And I had my hopes up, hoping that I would have that even after I would find out, you know, different things that he was doing, you know, when he would try to hide, then I end up finding out, you know, finding out the infidelity that he was committing. Yeah. And so, you know, I just kind of went along with that.
Let's talk about the infidelity, because on more than one occasion, you know, throughout the 10 years, you knew that it was happening.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
It really hurt real bad. It hurt really bad. I remember one time in particular, I was so hurt. I was in my closet, just laying down on the floor, just praying to God. And I was just screaming. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs because I was just hurt so bad. It hurt so deep. Because at that time period, he was fooling around and messing with someone that I knew. And I think that hurt even worse. You know, that hurt even worse. And it tears down your self-esteem. And because I believe that, you know, a husband is supposed to be that covering, you know, for the marriage, you know, for that family. And when they break that covenant, it opens up the door for all kinds of things and defilement and stuff to come in and, you know, and to destroy your family. And it brought depression at different times, and there was different times I just felt so heavy and under so much bondage that I didn't want to live anymore. And there was times that I was thinking about committing suicide. And just at different times I did, you know. But of course I didn't, and I believe that one of the reasons why I didn't was because of my children, you know. And I love my children dearly.
Yeah. So the question is, there was a time all through these years when the infidelity was happening, but there you forgave and you stayed in the marriage.
Yes, and I was being merciful, and I wanted to be merciful. And there were a lot of times where I was planning on just leaving, and I was not going to stay for, you know, any reason at all. I wasn't going to stay at all. But I just went ahead and decided. I had people that were praying. They were praying for the restoration, you know, of our marriage and everything. And he seemed to have a repentant heart. At least I thought that he did. But it really was not true. He would have this false humility, and it lasted very short period of time, you know. And so I guess at that time period, I kind of felt like, well, since this humility kind of faded away, I kind of felt like, well, since I already said I forgave him, I might as well stay. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of like how it went, you know.
But now you're kind of fed up. You say this is it. So let's we're going to talk about, when we come back, that decision to end it for divorce and what that means for you. Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're talking infidelity, woman to woman. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us, and we're talking with Charla about infidelity. 10 years you stayed in, so why now? What was the thing that caused you to say this is it?
Well, I kind of feel like within the past, he claimed within the past 2.5 years that he was just being totally faithful with me. But I'm a praying woman, and I know that God was showing me that, he was doing wrong. And then plus, I would just feel uncomfortable during our, personal, intimate relationship. It just felt unclean. And it didn't feel like, a husband, loving his wife, And then also different comments that he would make about other women. And it was more of as if this lustful attraction to other women. And those were, some things some signs that I saw and that I felt. But he knew that if I found out that I was going to leave, so he did everything in his power to keep it hidden from me. And a couple of things that had happened that really that catapulted me to make my decision to go ahead and leave. For one thing, I was praying about it a lot. And because I know I wanted to do everything that I could on my part to make the relationship last. And, I didn't know, I was believing God that he would be delivered from all of those things, from that lust and from all of that uncleanness, and that we can just be a family. And I remember one time in particular, he had went out of town, and he had mentioned this young lady's name, mentioned her earlier that day in a conversation. And I just had this feeling that he was going to take her out of town with him. He went out of town and came back home later on that night. And he just kind of had this guilt. He just had this look like, I've been into something.
Yeah, but it was probably a look that after 10 years you've seen before. Now, some people
Exactly.
may be sitting there thinking, why did you stay for 10 years? But you say you believe in the covenant of marriage.
Yeah.
The question is, the covenant says till death do us part, Why is this a reason to part? Is there any room for forgiveness, for reconciliation, for change?
Well, there is room for reconciliation and change, but it takes more than just one person for the change. It takes two to make a relationship work. And I was married to someone that was very deceptive and was doing his best to deceive me and was doing his best to hide everything that he was doing, so I wouldn't find out, because he knew that if I found out that I was gone.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, I just stayed, it was just so much, when you're married and you have children, sometimes it's not that easy just to get up and just go,
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have, any personal finances of my own. I was a housewife, taking care of the kids, and the finances had begun to run out, and we was really having a very hard time, at that time period. And I believe that was because he brought a lot of curses in our home because of what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that the deception from him and him always trying to convince you that everything was okay was kind of making you feel like you were crazy.
Yes.
Elaborate on that, because I think a lot of people do that. He shields and hides himself so that you could feel like maybe you're doing something wrong. You're the bad person.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really hurt me a lot also and I just kind of had this mind block a lot, and sometimes my memory would kind of go down because I believe that when somebody plays with your mind a lot, that that'll mess with you, and that was one thing that he did. And he did that to try to control me. And it was just like a delusion, And it was just rough a lot of times. It was rough a lot, heavy.
So since making the decision to leave, where are you spiritually?
Well, right now, I know that we have to forgive, regardless of what anybody has done to you. And I had a lot of hurt, a lot of bitterness, a lot of anger, you know, I was wanting things to happen to him, you know what I'm saying, because he had hurt me for so long. And God had been dealing with me, you know, concerning that. And it just take a process, especially when you've been through so much and, you know, been dogged out, been used and lied to so much. And, but right now, I'm doing a lot better. I just feel myself getting better every week. Yeah. I do. I feel I see changes in my heart, even when I see him, because I have to see him sometimes, you know, every other week or so, because he has the children. Yeah. But I am doing a lot better. I'm in my process of, I've actually forgiven him by faith. I can put it to you like that. And now my feelings are about to catch up.
Okay, we're going to talk more about the part you may have played in allowing him, and what are the issues that surround you as a woman, so that you can reclaim yourself and move forward, you know, from here. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay right with us. We'll be back in a moment. Thanks for staying with us. And our next guest, she's the author of this book, Reclaiming Ourselves, How Women Dispel a Legacy of Bad Choices. Welcome, Susan Shapiro Barash.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know you were sitting listening, probably saying, I hear this story over and over and over from women.
I do, and women operate out of fear. And that's what I was saying to Charla, that she stayed in the marriage because even though she was diminished by it, she was afraid to go outside, to leave and to be on her own. And it is financial and the children. But what women do is they pretend. They pretend that it's okay because it seems easier, and they almost sleepwalk through life. Then finally something triggered you to wake up, face it. Maybe it was that last affair, which you just couldn't stand another moment of it, and you were willing to really take charge of your life. And that's healthier.
So those are, I think in your book you talk about those as being wake-up moments, you know, wake-up calls.
Right.
You know,
well,
and usually they're traumatic experiences.
Yes, and I think what happened, or cumulative, as in Charlotte's case, where it just kept happening. But for women, we're taught, our culture teaches us to kind of sleepwalk through life as a coping mechanism, to kind of get through. And even if you see signals, like you did, that something was wrong, you kept wanting it to be better, and you didn't face that you had to make the change.
So we're talking about what we do wrong as women, and so for Charla, where did she go wrong? What was missing there out of the 10 years? What could she have done? Not looking at the man, if we cannot look at his action, but look at ours so that we can heal.
To think of herself first, because we're raised to be good daughters, good wives, good mothers, and so women don't put their own needs first. So by not paying attention to your own needs, even though you had, you know, some feelings that it wasn't right, you kept thinking that you needed to be there for the children and even for him, and not for yourself. So when you made the decision to leave, and you had another decision you could have made, you could have said to him, really confronted him, which a lot of women can't do, and said, look, this isn't working, will you go into counseling and try that? But apparently you just hit your threshold, and that's when you started to wake up and reclaim yourself, and now you're healing. You describe yourself as healing from the process because you started to think about yourself. That's really hard for women to do, especially when there are children and houses and just the day-to-day grind of it.
So how does she start to move forward, to reclaim herself?
Well, you've taken the risk of leaving a marriage. That's a huge step forward. Now you have to really think about how you want to live the rest of your life. And it's a long life. I mean, women will live till 80 based on the latest census. So you really have to figure out what you want. You have to pay attention to your own needs. You told me that you sing, so you could maybe have a career. You have so many choices. Women don't understand that a suboptimal existence is not the only way to live, that if you take the risk, you get the reward.
So why? You know, all of the research says that yes, you know, we stay in marriages for 10 years that are not working. Why do we do it as women?
We do it because we've been taught that to be a wife is so valuable. We think that the label is more valuable than ourselves. And you have to be brave enough to leave the marriage. The good news is that you'll probably remarry because the stats say that 75% of the divorced population does remarry. So if you're willing to reclaim yourself, to reinvent yourself, to take the risk, to move ahead, to be bold enough to raise your children alone. You'll be a single mother for a while, really always, even if you remarry. So you're changing the status quo, but you're getting yourself back in the process.
So Charlotte, you said that there were a lot of things that you didn't understand before you got married. Now that you've made the decision to move forward, you're getting better. Yeah. Where do you see yourself going?
Well, for one thing, I know more about the process. I'm just saying, if I ever decide to get remarried or have somebody in my life, I know more of the process and what to go through before I do that. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things is getting my spirit cleaned up from all of the stuff that I have been through, and just raising my children, and just going on with my music career and the things that I'm doing in ministry. And so I'm looking forward to a wonderful life.
Yeah. And of course, hopefully, you won't make the same mistake again, because when you meet a man and he seems interesting to you, you will really listen. You will pay attention to his history. Women need to pay attention to when a man tells them about their past life, how they feel about their mother, their sister, co-workers who are female, and of course a former girlfriend or wife. And if you listen, he'll tell you more than you need to know, and then you can evaluate, is this person right for me, based on having learned and being fully awake now, fully aware of your needs. So that's the improvement.
Did you see that in the beginning? Did he have a perception of who a woman, who a woman is to him?
He basically treated women like dogs.
But you
just being honest about it. And but that's something that is really important on how you see a man treat their mother. I'm not saying that he didn't love his mother, but there were some things that he would say, and even some things that he would do, that showed a lack of character, lack of integrity. And I didn't know that I would be treated that way. Mm-hmm. And so I know
because
now.
Respect is so important, and women make excuses for their partners when they're not respectful. Mm-hmm. Clearly in your situation, your husband didn't respect you, and he didn't respect the marriage, and that's so much what you needed. So next time you'll really hear what this man tells you, and you'll watch closely with the new man. Yeah. And you have the advantage of knowing what you really are looking for.
Exactly.
We're going to talk a bit more about how she's to do that now that she has 3 children. So it is single living for a while, but handling the relationship now with the man, what that's all about when we come back. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine a land filled with the spirit of the true South. Elegant, gracious, where people dine above the treetops, dance on water, and play among the stars, where every moment is extraordinary and dreams become real. For the best value and most convenient way to experience Gaylord Opryland, visit GaylordHotels.com to learn about year-round money-saving vacation packages and special events.
After the makeover of my home, I wanted to do something for Diva Supreme Sandy Sutton. I wanted to allow her to feel the excitement and joy of receiving. Oh, no! But what do you give someone who has given you so much?
Oh, my goodness. This is too much. No, not really.
Someone who has peeped into your innermost heart, saw your desires, and gave you exceedingly more than you knew was possible.
Everybody loves you.
I have to return the gift. I have to give to her what she has given to me.
You okay?
I have to peep into her innermost heart.
When I look in the mirror,
see her desires.
A really round face, which I've always had. My nose seems to be getting a little bit wider. My eyes used to be so much bigger and brighter.
And give her exceedingly more than she knows is possible. Get ready, Sandy. My gift to you, a home makeover.
Turn around, let me see you.
Oh, you look beautiful.
Now look at you. Look at your hair.
I'm not talking about the home her body lives in. I'm talking about the home her spirit lives in. It's a physical, full-body makeover. The full-body makeover will start with a new smile from Dr. Jeff Garner.
Yes, I am very excited.
Okay.
Are you excited?
I've got some stuff to show you.
Awesome.
That I think will be even more exciting.
Oh, this is amazing. So that's what's going to happen.
That's basically what's going to happen.
Oh, my.
There's the before,
Yep.
and then we'll have a little sneak preview here, the after.
Oh, wow. What a difference that
We're going to go
is
fresher, we're going to go more youthful, we're going to take care of some of those little problems you were
Yes,
born with that
yes.
you can't help.
Right?
I think you're ready to get started.
Awesome.
Yeah, we think probably with your complexion, with your blue eyes, with your fair complexion, that we're going to be able to push the shade up a little bit, but we're not going to get you neon white.
Right.
And even though this is just kind of a computer image, you know, the real thing will be really, it'll pop and it'll look really fresh and clean. And
That is incredible, Jeff.
And the makeover will end with a brand new wardrobe from Marissa Ensminger at B. Barnett.
I'm excited. This is a lot of fun. Look at all of these people. Look at the clothes, the shoes. I mean, who wouldn't be happy?
What happens in between time? First, Sandy loses the weight with personal trainer Robert McGowan.
You should feel a little pull in your triceps, biceps. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now push this one all the way down to the ground.
Then comes Dr. Jim English.
What do you really think about her as a patient? You know, when you look at her face, when you look at her body as a person, what do you think that you can give to her? What will she come out of with? What kind of feeling do you want her to have when it's over?
I want the inside to come outside. She has got such a really good heart, and it shows in her face. And it showed so well on her face for so long that she's got a few lines she doesn't want. And we want to try and erase some of them and make her look and feel as young as she does on the inside.
So, what will it take? How about liposculpting, a tummy tuck, a facelift, a chin implant, no surgery, an eyebrow lift, collagen implantation, and skin resurfacing? Well, I did say a full body makeover, didn't I? We might even give Sandy full lips, like mine.
You want some big lips
I
like
want
these,
your
don't you?
lips, darling. Remember when you used to worry that yours were big?
They were too big.
No. We need to put some fat in there.
Not for mine.
Let's see, what's left? How about permanent makeup? We'll see. I'll be there assisting Dr. Jim English all along the way, and there may be a few more surprises.
Congratulations. Surgery well done.
Hey, I'm not a doctor, but I sure do have fun playing one on TV. It's a transformation of the spirit, soul, and body.
Thank you for wearing a cross today.
Oh, yes, I wore that especially. This is my first time wearing it, and I actually bought it, and I said, I'm wearing it today
Awesome.
for Sandy.
Watch the process and the reveal.
About 20 hours later, I guess really the only question I have is it still worth it?
Okay, we're talking infidelity, woman to woman, about reclaiming ourselves. I know a lot of times when women are in marriages that aren't working, they stay for the children. Yeah. And they don't realize that having the children raised in the atmosphere that they're in is maybe worse than not.
That's such a good point. Women always say, well, when my youngest child is 10 or 12, then it will be okay for me to leave. But the truth is that not only is the environment unhealthy for you and your children in such an unhappy situation, but you left with when your children were fairly young. Your youngest is 2.5, you told me. And in a way, even though that's so difficult, you've come clean. And because you're young, you have so many options. I mean, women can reclaim themselves at any age, but I'm saying that to have the courage to have done it now, when it's really frightening for women with 3 young children, makes you very brave.
So what's the situation now like? You're saying you have to see him because of the children. How do you handle that?
Well, I just handle it.
Just that simple.
You know, I just handle it, and I mean, I've gotten a lot better since, you know, the months have gone along. But it was, you know, it was kind of rough in the beginning because there was a lot of fear there on my part that I had to really hide when I was in front of him because of a lot of the different things that he was doing to, you know, harass me, that was bringing fear, you know, in me whenever I would be around him. And it made it hard for me to give him the children, but I knew that, you know, I had to because of the courts, of course.
So there's still fear after you leave. Fear of leaving after you leave, there's still fear.
Well, what I hear here, and this is very common with women, is there's also a fear of giving the children over to this man because of the lack of trust.
Yes.
You don't feel that you can really trust him to watch the children for the designated time that, I don't know if it's a weekend or an overnight, but a lot of women in the midst of divorce and after divorce really do have that trepidation. But what I'm also hearing is that you have less despair now. That while you had literally lost yourself in the marriage, as you find yourself again, the despair diminishes. It goes away, and so you're not describing, you know, you said you wanted to die at some point. You're not like that anymore, and that proves just how strong you're becoming.
So how do we justify, if I can say, of course, that divorce is not something that we say, okay, go ahead and do, but how do we justify it in the eyes of God as far as, okay, we're going to go ahead and do it?
A woman with 3 young children who gets divorced is truly at the end of her rope. She really can't handle anymore. She equivocates often. She thinks about it long and hard. And whenever I meet a woman who tells me that a story of getting divorced, I know that she's been through a great deal to dismantle a family.
What about forgiveness? What about staying? What about sticking with it? What about honoring the covenant?
You should answer that for yourself,
well,
I guess.
Biblically, God gives us exceptions, you know, for divorce. Of course, he hates divorce and he doesn't like it. But God does not want anyone in a marriage that's being abused, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or physically. But I believe personally, you should do everything that you can to save your relationship. And that was what I did. And that was the reason why I stayed for so long. But I knew that my time was running out. And my time with him was running out, and so that was when I made my final decision. And then he did some things and said things that kind of catapulted me to go ahead and just go.
So spiritually now, having made the decision, a release, and you know, and how now do you handle your relationship with God and getting closer to him and understanding what he wants you to do now with your life?
Well, right now, you know, I've just been going through my processes, the different processes that you go through, the feelings of, you know, low self-esteem and fear and just not trusting men because, you know, of what, you know, I've dealt with for so long. But as I've gotten along with everything and I'm getting better because God has been, you know, taken me through a process of healing, and I've been allowing God to deal with my heart concerning those things regardless of how I had been treated. And since I have been yielding myself to what the Word of God says as far as like forgiveness and healing and just releasing those things and blessing my enemies, you know, and things like that, I've been feeling the release and the freedom, you know, and hope, you know, for my life.
Yeah, and there is hope.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so very much for sharing. I know that it wasn't easy, but you'll get through it.
Yes.
And we'll be here with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll be right back with more about infidelity, woman to woman. Thanks. Good job. Good job. Okay, we are talking infidelity with Susan Shapira Barash. And I think we have a question for you right now. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Along with the fear and the ridicule from society that women go through when you're trying to live a spiritual life and you're trying to be a good Christian woman, how do you handle the ridicule and things that and the questions and the guilt from the religious, you know, from the church that you're going, that community that you're going through when you're living in a bad marriage and you've left or you're planning on leaving, how do you handle that?
Well, it's very difficult for women because it's not only your religious community but the society at large that tells us that the very value, the heart of the matter for a woman is to be a wife and mother. So if you're the one who instigates a divorce, you definitely will have a problem with the community. And your children in school, and it will go around, and it will be perhaps gossip. And so the only way to deal with it is to believe so strongly in yourself and this decision and the fact that it will heal you and give you a chance at the right life for yourself, that you've weighed all of it, the balance of what it will do for your children, what it will do as a separated family, a divided family, no longer an intact family. And you make that decision knowing that it's right for you, and then you have the courage of your conviction.
Thank you.
And it's not just about marriage and infidelity that women need to wake up and reclaim their lives about.
No, Deborah. It's really in so many areas of a woman's life. Even for women who are very high-powered career women, they can't handle their finances because they've been taught that women aren't really in charge of their finances. When you get remarried, you have to know deep inside that this is the right marriage after a divorce. Mothering, we've been taught that mothering is the end-all and be-all, and we have to face that there's even a disappointment there that the children grow up and away from us. But we're taught to be such good wives and such good mothers that when we change our lives, we really have to do it for ourselves. And it's hard for women. Yeah. I once spoke to a woman who told me that if only she could have stayed asleep and walked until her third child graduated from high school, she would have done better. But to wake up is really hard work. But you get, at the other side of it, you really get yourself back.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that wake-up process, what women really need to see to wake up and reclaim their lives. We're going to do that when we come back. Okay, now we know now that there is life after divorce. There is a way to reclaim ourselves, and that's what we're talking about today. I think we have another question.
Yes, I was wondering, women are in that situation looking at reclaiming. We've put away the ABCs of raising our children, and now we're in the process of reclaiming. What are the ABCs specifics of that process that you can suggest?
I think that women need to take a really long, hard look at their lives to really evaluate not just what failed in the marriage and what can happen in a new marriage, but even with adult friends, female friends, adult siblings, how do you really interact with your sister, your mother? Is it healthy, or is it really not good for you anymore? So when you reclaim yourself in many areas of your life. Once you kind of wise up in one area, you apply it to the other parts. Is your job really working for you? Do you have the courage now to get another job? So that you really have to take hold of yourself and go for it.
So what are some of the things that bring us to a point of saying, I need to reclaim myself?
Well, Deborah, often it's an unfortunate instance, such as a husband who is cheating, which we talked about. Maybe you end up being diagnosed, God forbid, with some terrible disease, or your sister does, or a parent dies, or a friend is ill. But something that makes you realize that the life that you're leading is really not the healthiest life for you. And if you can only pull yourself together, take that risk and of leaving what's not right and getting what you want from your life. And women can do it.
So what if women decide to stay in a situation of infidelity? What are some of the steps they can take to reclaim their lives if they decide not to divorce?
If you decide not to divorce, then you really have to face the issues head on. You have to go into counseling or therapy or talk to clergy, someone who can guide you, a third party. The couple has to really reevaluate what the marriage means to them, what is still sacred, what still counts, the children, the initial vows, and then take that and apply it and actually renegotiate the marriage. That's the only way to save a marriage that's been tainted by infidelity.
And you've done a lot of research, so what are the statistics on, whether people stay or not?
Well, women find that they can't abide it in many instances. After a while, it depends on if it's a repeat offense, if there's emotional abuse in the marriage, or if the couple has really lost their way and they can get back some of the good stuff and then they can stay together. So if a woman feels there's something worth salvaging, then those women stay.
Yeah. Is it a matter of women just not feeling like they're worthy or they're good enough to take this step or to...
Yes. That's such a big problem for women in our society, all different social strata, all different ages, the sense that they aren't worthy of the life that they should be leading. Yeah. And I say, that's not really the way it is.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the power of a woman when we come back. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We are reclaiming our lives today with Susan Shapiro Barash, talking about how women dispel a legacy of bad choices. I think those choices start very early. They're starting when our children and our little girls are very young. We're teaching them that they really have no power.
You're so right. And what happens is that these young women, they're probably in junior high, all these studies indicate that they end up losing their self-esteem at that point. They become quiet in school. They don't believe they're smart enough or pretty enough. It becomes competitive. And then they carry that throughout the rest of their lives. And if they marry young, if they aren't really certain of what they want to do in their lives, it gets even worse. Because now they're kind of adults, but they're making mistakes. And they'll have to change their course.
So you have a young daughter. What are you saying to her?
I have 2 daughters.
You have 2 daughters. What are you saying to them?
I say to my daughters, the power is yours. You really have the power. If we think of Dorothy, I always tell them about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. She thought she needed 3 men to get her to Oz, right? The Scarecrow, the Tin Woodsman, and the Cowardly Lion. But when she got there, she realized the power was hers all along.
All the time.
She always had the power, but women don't know that. And so the lesson that I tell my daughters, and all young women, my students, is that it really is up to you. And for adult women, for older women, if you make a mistake, it's not too late to change it. Ultimately, it's your destiny.
So what can we look forward to in making a change and saying that I refuse to be abused or I refuse to live this way again?
Having options. So many options for women, more today than ever before. And what you really have is a choice. You can be whoever you want to be at any time, as long as you reclaim yourself first.
As long as you reclaim yourself. Thank you so very much
for
joining us. We're talking about infidelity, woman to woman, but realizing that it's not just about infidelity. There are so many reasons why women are asleep.
That's right, exactly.
So it's about waking up, reclaiming ourselves.
And having the choices you want, the power.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. Thank you. If you'd like to get a copy of Susan's book, Reclaiming Ourselves, How Women Dispel a Legacy of Bad Choices, you can go to our website. That's at DEBORAH'Interviews.com. Thanks for watching, and thank you for coming. Thank you.
A pleasure.
It's great. Thank you. Thank you so very much. It was good.